Last year, when I sent out my Christmas cards, I was convinced that the major threat we faced in the world was climate change. Little did I know that we would have the year we've had, and it's been a horrendous year. For many of us, life has been put on hold. Love has had to be expressed remotely, and loss of many kinds has left us all bereft. So as 2020 comes to a welcome end, what is now the most significant threat we face in the world? It is still climate change. In fact, climate change continues to present the biggest threat to the human race ever. We're only about a decade away from the point of no return, according to the United Nations Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change. That is how long we've got until it will be too late to undo our mistakes. So when I thought about these things a year ago, I was really quite taken by the figure of Greta Thunberg, this extraordinary teenager who confronted the leaders of the nations and called us all to change. And by the way, she won Twitter this year in her exchanges with Donald Trump. Last year, when Greta Thunberg won the Time magazine Person of the Year, Donald Trump dismissed the award as ridiculous and told Greta Thunberg in a tweet to work on her anger management problem and to go to an old-fashioned movie with a friend. Chill, Greta, chill, he said. So when President Trump was contesting the results of the US election, Greta Thunberg returned the compliment. But Greta Thunberg was not the first teenager to challenge the powerful and to advocate change. And that got me thinking last year about the Virgin Mary and the Christmas story. This is the card we sent out last year. The picture of Mary as an environmental campaigner was painted by my daughter. Now, Mary was probably no more than 13 years old, more likely to have been around 11 or 12. She was humble, poor, and had probably not been in full-time education. Mary, as the story goes, was visited by an angel who told her that she was to have a child. My friend Paula Gooder says, here is a young girl who was asked by God to face disgrace in order to bring salvation into the world. She's charged with facing that disgrace and potential danger to life and limb alone, and she does it with courage and dignity. And Paula says, the mother in me rails at God for asking too much of a young girl, but the Christian marvels at the courage of this young girl. Just after Mary had met with the angel and was then pregnant, she went to see her relative Elizabeth, the mother of John the Baptist. And when there, she burst into song, a song that we call the Magnificat, in which Mary praises a God who turns the world upside down. In his mercy, God overthrows the proud and the powerful and rejects the exploitative and raises up the poor and the marginalized. Her song is a song of justice, is a song that declares God's blessing upon the humble and meek. And the birth of Jesus followed through on that theme. Jesus coming to earth was like no royal visit we've ever seen. His wasn't a mass publicised, beautifully orchestrated, multi-million-pound trip, but an obscure, chaotic, impoverished birth, and yet a birth that made humility its focus. Jesus also proclaimed good news to the poor and liberty to the oppressed, and he showed us how being more was not the same thing as just having more. His was a life of simplicity. His example calls every one of us to live, as Gandhi once said, simply so that others may simply live. In a bizarre twist of fate, we now have our Prime Minister, the leader of the sixth largest economy in the world, telling us all to have a merry little Christmas. Our celebrations this year are to be smaller, less extravagant, and maybe less damaging to the environment. Now, this is not the Christmas that anyone will have chosen or planned for, but I wonder if we can take the littleness of our Christmas and allow it to inspire an ongoing discipline of simplicity and humility. Maybe we too can learn to live simply so that others may simply live. Take care this Christmas. Remember, these restrictions and difficulties are temporary, and we will get through this. And may you have a much better, as well as humbler, simpler, and greener 2021. Take care.